right. And it looks like we're live, I hope. So welcome everybody when you get here, or when you come and view this. This is Dren 608. This is my solo streaming of the main event scenario for Unconditional Surrender, World War II in Europe. Game designed by Salvatore Vasta, published by GMT Games. We've been going fairly well along. We're about ready to start Barbarossa. It's June of 1941. One of the things that did happen in the previous end of turn phase is that the Soviets rolled the number that they needed to end it. So even if I didn't want to go here in June, I don't have a choice. Fortunately for the Axis, it is fair in the cold zone, so it's going to be sort of a historical Barbarossa launching. The difference is, and we're going to go through a quick recap, I initially tried to send someone up to Norway when the Germans invaded up here. They put in an extra ground unit. It was far enough removed from invasion of France and whatnot that, or actually I should say it was close enough to it that when I did that, it just felt like I wasn't going to get anywhere. I've since seen a couple of other ways to try and do that, to contest Norway when the Germans land there. I'm becoming much more disenchanted with the idea of the Germans taking Norway with too much space between that time and the time of going into France. There's a reason why you should probably do it in April and not in January. So anyway, France fell more or less on schedule. It was July or August of 1940. The Germans committed an aircraft and a tank to remove the British from the Middle East and to chase them all the way to Basra. We did manage to get Iraq as an ally, so that made it a little bit easier. The problem was that I could not get, I couldn't just march Turks in here, so I actually had to, the British, realizing that they were going to lose Egypt, went ahead and had a garrison unit moved into Kuwait while they were trying to get the Western Desert Force out, which they didn't do, which is one of the reasons why they're down so low on willpower. They did lose it, but they rebuilt it right away in the Western Indian Ocean and got it into Kuwait. So there's a real army here. The only thing I really have to defend with is the Germans, because it's time to go get Russia. And as one of my opponents once said, it's all about collapsing Russia. Yes and no. It is kind of important to collapse Russia, but I think it's almost as important to make sure that the British are crippled so that they cannot do a lot to you. Now, with this coming up, one of the things that did happen is that the Soviets did not, did they? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm trying to figure out what the Soviets didn't get. Oh, they got all of them. So yeah, there was right at the end of the diplomacy exchanges, the Russians managed to actually get Viborg here before they came into the war, not by their choosing. Someone else pulled the thing. So Russians do have an infantry to build, but they will have to probably move like the guy in Leningrad to Viborg if the Germans decide to activate Finland, which I probably will do just because I think it's an interesting gambit on both sides to play around in Finland. Okay, as far as declarations of war go, since we're at war with the Soviets, we don't really need to declare war on anybody. we can just go in. So the Axis is not going to declare war on anybody. They're pretty happy. Oh, before I go any farther, I guess I should, hello, Alexander. Before I go any farther, I got to do my little commercial thing. If you like what you're seeing, hit the thumbs up button. That helps the algorithm YouTube put this up for people when they're searching for videos once this gets posted. If you really like what you're seeing, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the notify button, then you'll know when I'm going to schedule another stream and or post another video. The likes and the subscribers are nice, but the likes are what actually motivate me. If there's people out there saying that they like to see what I'm doing, then I'm going to do more of it. If I don't see people hitting the like button, then it's like, well, obviously it's not something people really want to see me do, so maybe I should quit doing it. So the thumbs up is really important, at least to me psychologically. I'm like at 140 subscribers or something like that. So I'm not expecting to get to monetization on this channel anytime soon, if ever. This is more of a trying to promote the games that I like and hopefully, get people interested in purchasing these games from the publishers and joining us in the online community, such as in Vassal or Board Game Arena, to play these games. So that's why I'm doing this. So there's the commercial break, so to speak. And if you guys can, help me out by hitting that like button, I'd really appreciate it. All right, back to what we're talking about. So we're not going to declare war. The British are like, I've got enough war against the Germans. I really don't need to take on another minor, so I think we'll hold off. And the Russians are going to be pretty much the same way. There's no reason to antagonize anybody else. We have enough enemies. So we get through that. Now, Germany has to make a decision. Germany only has 28 points. Does she need to have anybody else doing stuff? Well, Iraq only has 1 unit, so there's no point there. Now, the question might arise is that the one that I usually think of doing is Romania, because since there's not a lot of Russian unit, we talked about last time, I'm going to try and do sort of a speed bump in the first turn, and then I'm basically going to be withdrawing, trying to keep the German infantry from being able to make many attacks. If I can keep them to a maximum of 1 attack a turn, I can't outrun the armor. If I try to outrun the armor, I only move 8, they move 10. I can't really outrun them. They can catch up to me no matter where I go. But I can move to such a way that it's like 5 or 6 movement points for the infantry to get to me, which means they only get like 1 attack if I'm in a woods or behind a river and things. So they might get their retreat or whatever, but they're only going to get 1 shot at it. They're not going to be able to like surround me and get 3 attacks to make sure that they eliminate the unit and stuff like that. For the Russians, elimination of the army is your biggest problem, because those will points can never come back. Yes, I'm giving up 3, 4, 5 points for sure, probably on this first turn, along with all the cities that they're just going to overrun. But I'm going to immediately get 5 armies back. That will leave me like 5 armies in the build pool. And I have 1 that I'm going to build. So I should be able to redress the line and then decide where the next line actually sits. Again, trying to take into account, trying to keep his infantry from being able to get multiple attacks on me. There's nothing you can do about the armor, but if it's only the armor that's getting multiple attacks, getting 2 or maybe even 3, but usually 2 attacks a turn, and the German infantry is not, maybe only 3 or 4 of them are getting like 1 attack a turn, you're probably not going to lose. I won't say you're not going to, but you're probably not going to lose a lot of the Russian army. You are going to lose a lot of the territory in Russia. That's a given. They're going to take it anyway. If they destroy your army first and then take it after, like in a forward defense, if they knock out 10 of your armies, you have nothing to build. Your 5 armies that you get right away can't really stop them. And if you put them too far forward, they'll just get slaughtered and they'll be just added to the dead pool. So there's no real, for me, there's no upside to sitting on the border with the Germans unless you know your Germans are going to roll like a series of like 12 ones, because they will take out the Russian army over a turn or two, and then as that Russian army disappears, that willpower can't be caught, and the Germans can still advance and probably get all the way to Kharkov, Kursk, Orel, Bryansk, Smolensk, Veliluki, and probably be at a line where they're threatening to take the northern cities of Bologoya, Volkhov, and whatnot. Oh, Alexander, nice to see that you like what you're seeing. A lot of the concepts that I'm talking about are fairly advanced. One of the things that you can do, if you it says that you're saying that you can get into a vassal session, which the vassal module is nice. If you're really trying to just basically get down the rules and not forget things, I highly recommend the BGA module, which is what I'm in right now, Board Game Arena. It's free to sign up for it. I do not believe Unconditional Surrender is a premium thing, so you should be able to get to that game, and you can play like the introduction scenarios, that are in the playbook of the game, and they will it's guaranteed to keep you from forgetting, that you can only move so far and that you only get so many, cost so many points to attack someone. So that's something that might help you learn the game. And then when you do get into a vassal session, you're more likely to not forget all those things that you really need to remember to do. So I think I am going to give a point to the Romanians, and then I'm going to sit on the rest of my points because I have a lot of Germans to move around and do stuff with. Okay, so that's going to be it for the transfer. The Allies don't have any, and then we're in strategic warfare. Nobody has anything in as far as counters like submarines or ultras or partisans or anything to play, so we're just going to roll. You'll see that because I have not crossed the border, even though the Soviets are now active, East Invaded has not happened. And until East Invaded happens, that's when the Russian get to join. The turn after that happens, they get to join in on the strategic warfare. So the Germans basically have a +6 to a +0. And they knock the Allies down. I think they're already at 9, are they not? Let's go take a quick look at the card. Yeah, factory loss marker for the British is already up at 9. So they'll be working on trying to get BASRA back so they can have a chance to get their stuff back in. And now we're at a strategic move. And wow, strategic move. Where to put one? Well, one of the things that I've seen done, and I think that maybe the Italian air is at 2 sorties. So, and I can't fly over other people's territory because I'm a neutral. So the only way for me to get this thing over here for use, like in a future turn, is to strategically move it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the German air, or the Italian air, way up here. The idea is to get it in a position that next turn, when we're in July, and they'll have another airplane out, that I'll have an Italian airplane to try and soak up some of the sorties off these Russian airplanes and keep them incapacitated somewhat. Okay, that's the goal. Will it work? I don't know, but I'm going to try. Okay, the West. There's a little bit of a quandary on the British. Yes, Alexander, you can play solo. What you do is when you open up the game, you open it up in training mode, you set the player number to 1. Okay. And then it will allow you to, then you have to, quote, open the game to other players, even though you're already limiting it to just yourself. And then you can start up the game and you can play the scenarios that way solo, especially learning scenarios, which, like Poland, there's no point to having an opponent. Really, I mean, it's kind of obvious when you should use the ground supports. But you can tinker around that way, and you can play Poland 39 like 5 or 6 times in a row and try different setups and try different times to use the ground support, just to try and get a feel for it. Same thing when you're going to do the Norway campaign. You can play it several times to make sure you get to see how it works with different kinds of weather, and how the surprise attack marker and the airdrop marker and all that kind of stuff works. And then same thing with the Balkans. The weather makes a huge difference in that scenario. I have not tried the Mediterranean scenario other than in a vassal setting or on a map board. So I'm not sure about that scenario on BGA. I have done France 1940 and the France 1940, or the main event till 1940, which is like, you're kind of playing the main event, but you're not. You stop at the end of 1940 and see how well you basically did in the West. You don't go on into Barbarossa. The thing about scenarios is that there are things you will do in a scenario that you will not do in the main event. Okay? For instance, I'm playing in a 39 to 40 main event duel mode. You will not, as the British, usually expend your surprise attack marker to attack some German units in France just to try and get an extra turn. In the scenario, it matters because if you last till December, you win with the Allies. If you can keep France alive until December of 1940, you win. But in a campaign game where you're going to go to 1944, 45, or 46, that surprise attack marker may be very hard to rebuild. So you might think 2, 3, 4, 5 times before you actually commit a surprise attack marker to gain 1 turn for France. Or maybe even 2 turns for France. It might not be worth it. Because as long as that's in your pocket, like in this campaign game here, the Germans have to watch out for British invasions. Because they still have a surprise attack marker. So they can't just willy-nilly leave all the ports, in the Mediterranean unguarded and send everything off to the east. They can't do that. Because the British could take their Malta garrison guy, invade on a port and move his hex inland, and then go bring in something like the BEF. They could bring that in around through the sea zones and stuff because of mobility. The British can move quite far with their ground units. They could bring something like the BEF in, and it would land behind them, and then they could bring in an aircraft. And they have the convoys that they probably can supply all that, and then that expands out. So they could, conquer Sicily in 1941 if I'm not paying attention. So it's important, Germans, to pay attention to the invasions. The invasions that could happen to you, even with just this lowly Malta guy. Now, admittedly, he's got to move a convoy here and do something. But where you see me defending are the places that's going to keep the Malta guy from basically being able to have a walk-on. He can go 2 sea zones, so he can go to 24 and to 19. He can go get Sardinia if he wants it. Okay, he can have it. I'm not going to fight him for Sardinia. But even if he gets to Sardinia, I have things set up. The reason why he's set up in Naples is that if he lands here, he cannot move into Rome. He has to attack into Naples. Similar thing with Genoa, similar thing with Venice. He can get to Trieste if he ever gets to Benghazi. I'm not going to worry about it. Basically, I am set up to make sure that any invasion, like if I don't really see it coming, any invasion he does will be at least semi-opposed. Okay? That's the goal here. The most important Italian contribution in the Russian front. It's nice if you can get an infantry unit over there to help, just have an extra activation for someone to run around. The most important part is their aircraft to help suppress the Russians, which means the Germans get to use their aircraft more often to help in ground support and, make breakthroughs. So West really doesn't have a strategic move to make. They do have a quandary. That's where I was going. They do have a little bit of a problem here. They can't move this thing anywhere. This garrison, the 10th, they can't move it anywhere. He's in his zone of control. There's no way he can stack with the Western Desert Force, because that's illegal. He can't end his turn there. He's not on a port, so you can't get him out. Okay. So yeah, you got a problem with this guy. He's in the way because what you ultimately want to try and do is get an airplane in here, and you want the Western Desert Force to be in that hex with the 10th, and then moving to, it's not the greatest attack across the river into a city against a +2 enemy. The British can get up to, in fair weather, +3, 4, 5, -2. It can be +3 to +2. You will see me, as the Germans, not use my tanks marker in the east. This is on purpose. By not using my tanks marker, I make this guy down here a +4. The fact that Basra, or Iraq, is allied to the Axis keeps the British from being able to use their partisans marker when they get it in Basra. They can use it in like Kuwait and these two hexes, but they can't use it in Iraq because Iraq's a German ally, not a Western ally. So that's something. So that's kind of where we're at. I think I need to get this guy out of Tobruk for the Italians. And someday I'm going to get my fleet here that's at 6 sorties. I'll get it back down to reasonable levels, but not for a while. Yeah, I don't see one for the British. The Russians. Now, here's, you got to kind of decide what you want to do. I could run even farther. I could try to save another army. Could pull the guy out of Brest and put him, back up here, somewhere behind the river. I could pull the guy from the Cernate and put him, like, back behind Dubnostric. I really don't know. I cannot rail anybody out of the forts because, again, you're only allowed to move them once East invaded actually happens. I really don't know. Part of me wants to try and preserve more of the army and just give the Germans a bunch of space. And part of me wants to stay here just to make him have to spend, an infantry unit or two to maybe take out Brest. So, not really sure. Oh. Well, that was a mistake from last year. I don't know why I left this airplane here. He should have flown back to, like, Kharkov or something, someplace where he's relatively safe. Well, I think I'm going to leave this pretty much the way it is. Don't have anything else really to move around, so I think I'm just going to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna leave it here and see how I can tear it apart with the Axis. All right, so the Soviets aren't going to do anything. Here we go. So now we're in the action subphase. We're going to do some fairly basic things. Oh, that's what I should have done with the Soviets. I should have moved Sarnati. Oh well. Anyway, so we're going to spend some of our minor allies. He's just going to move himself into Odessa and hope that someone opens up a supply line for him. Two things. It makes it a place where he can't put one of his 5 infantry he's going to get immediately. 2, it is actually starting to cut off the guy in Kishinev and possibly get him set up to be isolated. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to move Yugoslav that's further behind. He's going to go ahead and move into this city here, Lvov. Hello? Wake up, machine. There we go. So we go ahead and take that city, and then we're going to actually move to here. Which lets us isolate the guy in Cernati. Okay. We're going to save the other Romanian moves till after we've moved some Germans here. So, now we only have 2 sorties on this airplane, and he has 0. So it would be 0 to 0, which is not really the greatest odds. I don't have a lot of attacks to do here in the north. So I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take this airplane, since I'm going to have the Italians to help me next turn to try and counter airplanes. I'm going to go ahead and move this airplane down here. Oh, home defense. Okay. I can't go in there. But I can go to here. Because that's actually part of Soviet territory. So I actually can go to there, and then I can have him go after this airplane. I know people say you shouldn't waste your sorties taking down the enemy aircraft, because stuff like this can happen. I'm like, I don't... Yes, every once in a while, a bad die roll is going to happen. Okay, I've had 2 bad die rolls in a row. So this airplane is going to be much tougher than I thought. So now I'm -1 to -2. Wow. He is really tough. The reason why I want to get rid of this airplane is there we go. And we're going to use this airplane. So we'll both be at 5s. I can bring him back up to 3s. Or if the Russian airplane can fly, it's 2 sorties that he's going to get and take them down to 6. But that's okay. All right, we're going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I can have the armored unit run all the way to there. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we're going to need to do... I have an armored unit here. I have an armored unit here. So I think I'm going to have the 2nd Panzer sort of retrograde for a minute. It's going to go to here. He'll get 2 attacks. So I'm going to attack it here. I'm already at +5 because he is isolated, so I don't need to use my airplanes. Now, the Russians have a quandary. They can throw, tanks here to try and slow people down. I'm thinking that I want to use the tanks to slow him down in taking Brest rather than Sonate because these are factories, right? Try and get him to commit his airplanes and things to make sure that I get taken. So I don't think I'm going to defend Sonate. I'm just going to let him have it. And he goes ahead and commits. And even at +4, I would have been retreated, and then he would have had to use an extra turn, so that might have helped. But as it is, well, I can go and I can make a free attack here, but then he's not isolated. Mistake on my part. I should have moved this German infantry up and across. So instead, I'm just going to have this armored unit. I'm not going to... Oh, yeah, I'm going to take that because that's a city. That's right. And then he's going to go ahead and move up closer to being able to get more Russians. Maybe. If the computer will take my moves. Unfortunately, Saturday mornings, the board game arena can slow way down. So that can be a problem as well. Let's see. Okay, we're going to do that. We need to get... why don't we go ahead and use up this Romanian? It's not going to be very useful. We're just going to stick this Romanian here. So that when I come here, now I have an armored unit coming in here. Maybe. Jiminy Christmas. Okay, so now this is one of those places. This is a factory. He's going to be +5. I think because he can attack me a total of 3 times, I think I actually want to make him use up some more movement points here. So I'm going to go ahead and use one of my tanks here. I would not commit my air because I'm already at +5. I don't think I'm going to need it. And I got very lucky. He rolled a 1. The Russians did, so 9 to a 1 + 2 is a 3, so it's a DD. He's surrounded. He can't. I will move in here. Unfortunately, that means his airplane can fly away. So he will end up back in Kharkov. Which is where I wanted him to be in the first place. And then, unfortunately, I can't get close enough to actually attack him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I can't actually get close enough to attack him anywhere. So now I have to just kind of look at my infantry. 1, 2... Oh, come on. I need to turn that off. Excuse me a second. I'm going to go turn off the pop-ups because they are slowing down the interface. So I need to make sure that this infantry, if he goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I can get all the way to here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 can get all the way to here. So I can have an infantry here, infantry here. So I could put this armored unit like right here. Have some infantry on either side, protecting its flanks. So I don't want to stick my armor out too far because he does have an airplane that's far enough back that I probably, he's also going to get an airplane with a couple of sorties on it. If you stick an armored out there where the Russians can actually surround it, they can actually end up attacking it like several times at like +4 to +4 with their airplane. All it takes is one lucky break on that to flip you, and then they can finish you off. And losing an armored at the beginning of the campaign, the Barbarossa campaign, is very hurtful for the Germans. But you also want to have your armor in a position where it can do some major damage. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to put the armor here. Just end its turn. And I got to be careful about my points because I'm going to need to leave at least 9 back here. I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Dang, I can't get there. Oh, but that would be good enough. So we're going to take the Yugoslav. We're going to put him here. That uses up... come on. Then I mean, the interface is slowing down. That means there's lots and lots of people playing on Board Game Arena right now. So I'm going to go there, and then if I move this guy 1 space, maybe. And I'm already at +3. Now, like I said, I am not going to be using my tanks here because, no, I need them to make sure that nothing can happen to me down in the British front, or possible German or Russian counterattack. So I'm going to, try to refrain from using the tanks unless it's like going to make a breakthrough and I can run into Moscow or something ridiculous like that. This is early stages. There's not a lot of Russian armies, quote, to eliminate at the front. So I'm more about making sure I take the ground in a responsible manner and take out important things like places where there's factories, because I do want to cut down his building capacity. So I think I will actually spend 1 sortie here for this. That gives me a +5 to see if he'll use up his last tank. And I believe, because this is infantry, if I can get him to have to spend another unit to take me out, that's good. So I'm going to go ahead and use my last tanks here. And it worked. He got an 8, and I got an 8, so nothing happened. Now he can attack me again, and I can't add anything. He could just stay at +3, or he could throw in his airplane to try and get me flipped, which is what he's going to do. German says, let's see if we can get a +5 to 0 and get him at least flipped. Okay. And I did not. I rolled a 1, and he rolled a 5. So, that failed miserably. This could be a problem. I can attack him twice across the river, so instead of doing this guy, what we're going to do is we're going to go here. He's going to attack here. So right now I'm +2. I'm going to go ahead and throw the airplane in one more time to be +4. Let's see if a +4 works. +5 didn't work last time, so these Russians are holding very well. Ah, there we go. Finally, he rolled a 1, and I rolled a 4. +4 is an 8. So I got a DD. I can take that. And then I want to end up here. Because that sets me up for the future of being able to isolate more of these guys up here, which is what I'm trying to do here. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to get a shot at Riga. 1, 2, 3. So I need to put someone here. Yeah, I'm running out of units there in the north. I have too many guys in the south. So I might have to send this guy north. 1, 2, 3, 5. Yeah, like That's what we're going to have to do. So he can go here. And I'm going to go ahead and say that he's going to call an assault for there, because that way I can use him later. 1, 2, 3. 5, 6. It's only one attack. The armor doesn't only get 2 attacks. So we're going to try this. We're going to attack here. Actually, this is going very well for the Russians because I'm not going to be able to get to this airplane up here. Which is going to give him some flexibility. I think I'm just going to go at +3 since I only have 1 attack. I want to save those airplanes for later. I did get a retreat. That's good. Okay, so now I can go with this guy here and attack. +3 to -2. And no effect. Jiminy Christmas. I'm rolling lots of 1s here with the Germans. And I roll again. Go again at him. And another no effect. Wow. That's huge. That is absolutely huge. Okay, so that means this infantry here's got to do the job. So now we move the first infantry up. Confirm this attack. Maybe. There we go. Finally we got through. Now we only have 3 movement points left. So we're kind of restricted on what we can do here. Normally I would be moved right up to the river, but I'm going to have to use this armored unit to come over and take out Vilnius. So I'm probably not even going to make it to Minsk. Which is very good for the Russians to have slowed me down that much. It means they can hold the Duna possibly for a whole turn if they want to try and make their stand there. And we'll discuss that when we get to the Russian turn. So, because I can't just move here and attack the city, it costs 3 movement points. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to move to here. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that first. And what I'm going to do, this guy is now isolated, so I'm going to go ahead and resolve this assault. I am going to use the airplanes so that I can possibly use the armored unit to break the Duna this turn. So let's see if the +5 to 0 works. It did. All right. So I don't get to advance any farther, but I get to go take Vilnius. So now I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and try to take Riga. I'd have to use an airplane. That'd be +4 to 0. That would break the Duna. Or I could just say the heck with that and move this guy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to take Minsk. But I'd kind of be putting myself out there in range of his airplane. That's a real tough one. Yeah, there's going to be a Russian aircraft that's totally untouched, which is very bad for the Germans. So I think we're going to go ahead and try and breach the Duna. Let's go see if this... And what you do is you go 1, 2, 3, 4. You want to attack from here. And the reason why it's important to attack from that hex that has the word Latvia in it, when you're going across here, is because now if he retreats, he's got to retreat into fair terrain, not into this mountain hex. Which is a good thing. And German aircraft is going to be like next to nothing. The Russians are going to have a field day. And I did get a DD, and the nice thing that goes along with this is by moving here, I still have 2 movement points left, so I can try to get an elimination. I'm just going to go at +4 to -2, see if I get lucky, which I did. Now, I will not take that hex, I don't think, because I don't have anybody to move up behind the armor. So he could place an infantry unit here, and this guy could go, he could place an infantry in Tallinn, and then this guy could go 1-2, and Tallinn would move down, and he would be, oh no, I wouldn't be isolated next to the city, wouldn't I? But it would be awkward trying to fight my way out of there. I don't know. I really don't want the armor running up the coast, but it kind of looks like it's going to have to. This is not going well for the Germans, to say it mildly. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay, what have I got left? 15, so I can only spend just like 6 more points and get all my 3 airplanes back. So it's going to be an armored and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 infantry. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 infantry. Okay, so I guess I will take this hex. The reason why I'm not so worried about him like trying to isolate me, this guy cuts off zone of control to Riga. So his zone of control and the armored zone of control, even if he gets a guy into this mountain and puts a guy up here, I'm not isolated because I'm adjacent to a captured city. So he still would be attacking me at my full +4, and he would be at best like 2 tanks +4 and an airplane +6. +6 to +4, and then I can retreat, and that would be in an assault. Otherwise, it'd be +4 to +4. No, that's not a good move. The more I think about it, the more I think I would do it with the Russians, because I have a full airplane that has nothing better to do with its life. I think I'm not going to take the hex. I'm just going to stay there, because that gives me a safe retreat route across the river if he somehow comes down here and tries to push me out of Riga. Because I don't have a lot of aircraft to support me. This stubborn defense of the Russian aircraft down here worked for a change. Normally, the Russians don't last that long with their aircraft. And that left this airplane up here completely untouched. Again, that's because I was focused on trying to do things here, and I probably should not have. Probably shouldn't have bothered to go after that Russian air. But I usually do, and it usually works out much better than it is. This time it's not. So anyway, we're going to go and stick our nose out here. This armored unit's going to go here. To capture another factory. That's the only reason why I did that. This infantry. Well, let me see about the infantry in the back. I've got 3 more infantry to move, so I'm trying to figure out which infantry I want to move. That's this guy. So I can put the 7th there. So we have to worry about 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. So we really need to put somebody here. Sort of a contingency plan as having a line. I'm not going to be able to get the line that I want to defend myself. This armored unit is hanging out there, so he's got to go. So I'm going to put that infantry unit there. I've got a couple more infantry units I can move. So we're going to move these two. Oh, that's very disconcerting. The second can't really get anywhere. That's useful. I have to move these two infantry units in Romania because I need them to go here. And the reason why he's going there, the 6th Army. Oh, I hate this. Slowing down the interface. The reason why this infantry goes here is because with his zones of control, this guy can't move across this river to attack these armored units. And then I was thinking of moving this infantry unit up, but he can't get anywhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The only place he can get to is like right here. So he's not going to be useful there. And I do want to save myself 9 points in the hopes of being able to flip up all my aircraft. So I'm going to have to move this infantry up, and he's going to go... Oh, that was a huge mistake on my part. I didn't realize he could get to that swamp hex. Because if he could have, then this infantry here could have moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and been there. I could have had a little better positioning here than what I have. You know something? I don't have to worry about this guy getting there because he's cutting him off. So we're not going to move this one. This guy's on a rail line. Or no, he's not on a rail line either. So the guys that I moved... I'm going to try and see how this undo works. So I'm not going to move that infantry up because he's on a rail line. If I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I think this army can actually move to here. Very slow interface right now. Very slow. Alexander, it is Luna LOL for BGA module. If you have suggestions or if you have bug report, if something doesn't seem like it's working, go file a bug report. Fastest way to get to the bug reports is to type the word bug in a game that you're in and hit enter. And it should pop up a little link for you to go file a bug report. That's on Board Game Arena. There's not a lot of bugs, really. It might be that you just don't understand the interface. There are a few things that are not the same as in the rulebook, and that is on purpose. One of them is you cannot have units that are sitting on an off-map box. They cannot be voluntarily not supplied. If they've got garrisons sitting on an island port, it cannot be voluntarily not supplied. Those were decisions that he made when he was coding. Sal actually likes those decisions and has not said that they had to be changed. Technically, they're not the way the rules are written, but they actually make more sense because a garrison unit on an island, in a port, would forage. They would not, they would not supply themselves. So, but be that as it may. There's a couple of things that are a little flaky with some of the scenarios and things where certain rules aren't really implemented. but we all just play with knowing that, hey, you're not allowed to do that, so don't do it. But the BGA module, you would hit the bug reports. You can go in there and actually, you can start up a bug report and then turn it into a suggestion. That's one of the choices you can make, is a suggestion to change the interface or add something or whatever. So that's how you do it in Board Game Arena. As far as Vassal module, yes, I'm the last one that did the major updates to it. I'm fine, Constantine. Alexander's here talking about the Vassal module and the Board Game Arena module and how to get updates to it. Ah, okay. Second med scenario is not set up right, I think. Thanks for your feedback. Okay, I will check the... if you can do me a favor on the Vassal module, go into Board Game Arena under... I don't know if it's under variants or where we have... There's some streams on the Vassal module in Board Game Arena. Anytime you have a comment on it, go ahead and, go into like either variants or organized play or something like that, or sessions, and just post me a comment. And that would make me, I will see that more likely than anything, because I usually check Board Game Geek, I check on a fairly regular basis. So a lot of times I tell people to go ahead and give me stuff there. I will make a note to check on the med scenarios. It is possible in my last update that I didn't change something that should have been changed. I have not done the scenario updates. I think Sal's done 2 or 3 updates since then, so I really do need to do a check on that, but don't have a lot of time to do all these things. So, in Vassal. Okay. All right. So I've been thinking about this. I'm going to leave this guy here, even though he could get up to the front, and I'm going to take the second. It's going to be my last infantry move, and he's just going to... Yeah, he's just going to run up here to get in range of being able to do something next turn. And then I got to go see if there's something I need to do with the Turks. For right now, I'm not going to do anything with the Germans in Basra. I was going to do... I'm going to get this guy started moving out of Tobruk. Get him headed over towards Suez. I meant to do that last turn. Turks over here facing the Russians. I guess I will move one Turk here. I'm just going to save my points on my other Turks. I'm not really interested in trying to launch some kind of an offensive here out of the Turkish border lands, because I really don't have, I mean, with these ridges and things, I mean, I could go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, attacking at 0 to 0 and 0 to 0. Retreats across these ridge lines, and then it's -2 because of the rough terrain and the ridge line. And I don't have any way to make these guys +2. Best they're +1s. So it's kind of like, more like set them up for, assaults in the future or something. So I'm just kind of moving up here. And, I guess I should probably move that Turk up too. Yeah, I think I should move this Turk up too, because I don't want this Russian here. I don't want him in this space. So I'm going to put this Turk here. And I'm going to save a point. Let's see, I could attack. 1, 2, 3. I could attack, try and move him across, but then he could come down around the mountains. See, I kind of want to save these ground supports for counterattacks. Right now, I don't think he can get to anybody here. But since they're variable and when they come back in, I'm like, I might need those for more important attacks than silliness down here. So I'm not going to attack. I'm just going to let it be. I'm kind of set up for possible assaults next turn. And the important thing here is that I have a point left for the Turks. So that if he does decide to, like, move a guy over here and maybe make an assault and somehow, gets a DD on me, that I can at least flip the guy back over. So that's my thought process there. I don't see it happening, but then again, he could fly an airplane down here because he has an airplane coming in with an extra infantry, so he could try to make an offensive into Turkey if he wished. So I think that we are done with the Germans. I have 9 left. The Italians only had 1 guy to move, really. I better check. I'm pretty sure I have the Italians all set up. I discussed this earlier, Constantine, in case you... Yeah, I said that we were going to launch at this session. The reason why there's so many freaking Italians over here, 1, it took me a while to take out the Middle East, and 2, the British could bring a convoy and a fleet here into Malta and land at one of these ports and just move inland. So I can't let him just land at these ports, at Taranto, Brindisi, Catania, Palermo. He can land at Cagliari. I'm almost willing to give him that at this point because it would use up his surprise attack marker, and I'd be very happy to see it go away. But right now, his surprise attack marker can threaten to take out like Sicily or southern heel of Italy, so I have to leave these guys here to make sure that it's not attractive. The other thing I'm doing over here, oh, come on, machine. The other thing we're doing is, the reason why this guy is moving is I want him to be down here. When he gets someone back into the Arabian Sea, he could invade into Sea Zone 31, which is not good for me. I really don't want to have, the Allies in Suez or in Basra. Right now, he's lined up. I've lined up the British to try and do something about retaking Basra. The reason why I like to retake Basra for the British is it's the +2 is both against the Soviets and the Brits. If you can get rid of that, that benefits both of them in strategic warfare. If this fails to work, then I will probably concentrate on trying to take out the Suez and see how that works. There comes a time, sometime in 44, as the Axis, where fighting for these ports no longer matters because you're so far ahead. Usually in the fall of 44, you can just say, that's it. I really don't need to spend production points down there protecting that, and just let the Allies defeat them. If they're going to spend turns running around in North Africa and the Middle East in the summer of 44, fall of 44, that means they're not running around attacking you towards Germany. So there comes a point in time where it's just not cost effective to try and defend down there. Now, mind you, if you have 40 production points and nothing else better to do with them, then yeah, go ahead and, spend the points down there. But normally the Germans don't have that luxury. Okay, so we're going to say that we are done with the Axis. I've moved the Turks, used up the Romanians and the Yugos. The Italians are going to spend, 9 points on, well, actually they're only going to spend probably 4 points on the fleet and 3 points on the airplanes. So that's like 7, and maybe one of the convoys, 9, 10. Okay. Yeah. And the Germans, since there is no could be a British invasion up here. It doesn't look like he has one set up. You have to go through Sea Zone 11 with the guy in Gibraltar. So I'm not seeing a real unit there, so I think I'm going to go ahead and pass. We're not going to voluntarily eliminate anything with the Axis. And it's... okay. So now I have to check my... first thing I do is I go supply all, unlimited supply with no convoy. That will show me who's got problems. Okay, now for this turn, I'm only going to supply one unit in the Middle East, because he doesn't have anything lined up to do a proper invasion. So the one thing I'm going to supply is guy in the Middle East. And then because he does have a surprise attack marker and might use it to go into Norway, I'm going to leave the airplane. I'm going to leave the airplane and the infantry unit both at full supply for this turn. Oh no, I don't have to worry. He's only got garrison units, so don't worry about it if I'm at low supply, because I can supply myself next turn. The airplane stays at full supply to try and be able to mess with his fleet if he does an invasion or whatever. I have a shot at, trying to stop it with the airplane. But these guys can go to limited supply. The guy that's is that the 10th Army? 16th Army? Turn this back on. This was slowing me down before, but now I'm going to turn it back on. Yeah, down here in the Middle East. Not going to tell me. This guy here is the one I'm keeping in supply. I think he's the 16th. 18th. So 18th Army is going to stay in supply. He doesn't have anything lined up to invade in Sea Zone 31, so I don't have to do the Italians there. I am taking a bit of a risk by the guy in Tripoli not being supplied. That's just the way it is. The one thing I am going to do is I am going to supply this German, but I'm going to supply him into a different convoy. Oh. I think I want him to go into this one. Can't tell where they're at. This is one of the things that's a little bit upsetting. That. Oh, by the way, Alexander. Okay, Constantine, what do you think about amphibious invasion in Sicily? I mean, maybe it's better to invade straight on the continent because of German armor defending Strait of Messina. Depends. Will invading Sicily collapse Sicily? Or collapse Italy? If that will happen by invading Sicily, then invade Sicily. Collapse Italy any way you can. That's a whole lot of ground units and an air unit, and you don't have any Navy opposition really to speak of. The Germans get one shot with their surface action marker every couple, 3 turns. Other than that, there's nothing to actually threaten you. So, taking on Sicily, it depends on if it will lead to the Italian downfall. If it leads to an Italian collapse, by all means, I do it. I do whatever I can to collapse the Italians early. preferably before before the normal time frame. Now, if you're talking about the Mediterranean scenario, I don't know. I haven't really studied this scenario for that and the limitations that you're under. It might be that it might be better to try and arrange to do an invasion directly into southern Italy or something. I'm not sure. So it depends on which one we're talking about there, Constantine. If we're talking about a main event, if I can collapse the Italians by invading Sicily, I will. If I can collapse the Italians in any way, I will do that. I want to do. I think it's this one. I think it's this one has the guy with 3 sorties. I hope so. Yeah, it looks like he's got the. I don't need to confirm the escort. Oh, good lord. What a slowpoke this is. And what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to bait the Russians into using their surface action marker so I don't have to worry about it. And I'm not going to fall for it for the Russians because I know that he's going to... See, I'm paying attention to the Russians here. And this is something people wouldn't necessarily see. See this infantry unit in Königsberg? He activates Finland. Next turn, he takes his convoy, which only has 1 sortie on it, moves it to Königsberg. Now it has 2 sorties. Then he moves it to Helsinki. And if I don't have this here, I don't have any chance to intercept it. Okay? So I'm saving this for the inevitable move of this German infantry into Finland. So I'm not going to mess with the Italian supply. It doesn't do me any good. If I thought the British were going to do a major invasion or something, then yeah, I might try and do it. So confirm naval path. Back to Germany. And we supply ourselves into Vienna. And that takes care of that. And the idea there was so that I had a 4 and a 2. Okay. Unfortunately, I have to do all these limited supplies again. Right. So what that does is that gets me much further ahead on the rebuilding of the Italian fleet. Because I cannot, because I railed the airplane into Russia, I can't bring the airplane down, so this lets me bring down 1 convoy to 0 for the Italians. I'll bring 1 convoy down to 2 for the Italians, and I will have 1 fleet with 1 sortie on it, and another fleet will have come down to -4 sorties. The one that's at 6. So I'm on my road, on the road here to, trying to reestablish the Italian Navy dominance in this part of the Mediterranean, central Mediterranean. So the Germans can do only one thing. They can activate Finland, or they cannot activate Finland. I've heard lots of arguments both ways. Most people that at least one of the online people has said, do not activate Finland. I agree in the Barbarossa scenario, it's not good. In this situation, I think it is good. So I'm going to activate them. And it puts them out there, and then it's going to turn around and tell the Soviets, hey, put down your units. So I'm going to do that. I am purposely not putting anything in Viborg. And you'll see why in a minute. So I confirm that. So we're going to put the isthmus here. We're going to put Western Finland here. Put this guy up here. Now the Russians are set up fairly aggressively for my taste, so I'm actually going to sit behind this river so that I'm -2. And this guy is only going to be -1, but he's got very little room to run away in. Now what this does is, yes, the Russians can try to push through here, especially if they save their armor. They can be like +1. Right? But they didn't save their armor, so they'd be -1s to -2s, or I could even use ground support to try and push me back and then like run up and grab a city or whatever. The idea here is if he's pushing in the north, I have time to get a unit into however that's pronounced, O-U-L-U, Ulu. Okay, and this guy can retreat that way, and I can get a unit into Ulu, and I can, still hold him here and get a German unit into Finland. If I get a German unit into Finland, the Russian offensive is pretty much stopped. The Russians have much bigger problems because I'm in basically sort of a runaway mode. So I'm going to be constantly retrograding. I did lose a unit here at Riga that I did not, was hoping it would only be retreats, but it was much more severe. So now I have a little bit bigger hole here that I have to deal with. So that's going to be something we have to deal with. So now the East invaded has happened, so I get to place a bunch of Russian units. I don't need an aircraft here in the north because I have an aircraft that has absolutely no sorties on it. So I think I'm going to put the other aircraft more towards the south. And I'm just trying to think if there's any real attacks that I can use that aircraft for. His miners are kind of protected. He doesn't have too many. I mean, I could try to do an isolation. I could put an infantry here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then have this guy go 1, 2. Then this guy wouldn't be in supply. I would only get 2 attacks here on this guy. And even if it worked and I eliminated him, then I have 2 infantry units that are basically out of supply, and he'll just take them back. So I get 1 German willpower for 2 Russian willpower and 2 less infantry. So that's probably not the greatest idea in the world. I don't need to worry about saving points. I think I have 1 guy in the eliminated bucket from when I got Karelia. Yes. See, so I do have a guy that I can build. And since I'm going, I'm going to go after the Germans, so these Finns can't do anything. I'm thinking I'm going to save that build to build into Viborg. And I'm going to put these 5 down in sort of defensive positions to try and hang on here in the north. Some. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys in the south. I have 1 guy in the north. I will have a grand total of 11 units on the board at the beginning of next turn. Not counting the guys in the forts, which are not going to move. So we're not going to have a lot of guys to really stem the tide. It's just not going to happen. We will have an aircraft that can defend us fairly well. Right? Because it doesn't have any sorties on it. All right. So what's going on over here? Ah, you're talking about main event. Okay, Constantine. Yeah, in the main event, it really depends on where's willpower on the Italians. Tell me what the willpower is for the Italians. I'll tell you if I go and do it. One of the things you can do is even if they have 6 willpower left, if you take both the cities in Sicily, now you only need 2 willpower, which means every port on the Italian coast has to be garrisoned. And even if they're all garrisoned, you can usually still manage to pull off a decent invasion that forces a retreat, which is all you need, and then all the Italians disappear. So then whatever's left is only whatever Germans happen to be in Italy. The biggest thing that I do when I take out Italy, very often I will not leave a very large presence in Italy. Removing it from the board is important. threatening stuff from the south. If it's like, if I'd done it early, like in the game that happened with me with Mark Dye, he took out Italy in like March of 1943. The whole game was a series of situations like that. So taking it out that early, he doesn't have a lot of ground units to threaten anything else. So he put 2 or 3 British ground units that he had, and he just let them go ahead and sit in Italy, and they're working their way up to the German Alps or whatever. That makes me have to pull armies away from the east. And so on. So it's just a general rule. If I'm like just barely clipping them off in 1943, late 1943, say in August or something like that. So I'm close to historical. I usually don't put a big presence there to try and push forward, because I need to have everything I can possibly have to go in through France. So basically, it's like whoever invaded and conquered them, that's kind of who stays there until I need them in France. Okay. Time to place some armies. Well, pretty sure I want one here. Maybe. I think I need another. Put another one in Smolensk. I'm going to put one in Tallinn here, but he's not staying. Because he just moves up and hits me isolated and just gets a free will point by killing the army. But by being here, I can move like over here on this side of the lake here for defensive purposes. It's just a nice place to be. The one army I have to build, I'm going to build in Viborg, so I don't have to worry about that. Where do I put the 4th one? I really don't. I think I can just adjust the guys in the south to being defensive. Right? I'll be able to build like 5 guys next turn. I'm just trying to think if I need an extra guy here in the south. Because pretty much the northern defense is going to be like way back here. Right? So I'm going to be way back here. Like here. Luki maybe in the swamp here. Smolensk will probably move up to this river line to just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do I want to move into Minsk and move back? I think I'll put one in Minsk. And I'll move him back to defensive position since I have so many production points. And I really think I am going to put this last infantry unit. I'm going to go ahead and stick him in Kharkov. Just because I'm afraid of some kind of... I'm not sure if I'm going to defend on the Dnieper or not. I think I'm going to have to. That's going to be the next place where I'm going to sacrifice a couple, 3 units. To try and slow him down. So that I can get those 5 guys that I lost. Or 6? How many did I lose? 1, 2, 3. Good grief. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I did lose 6. Yeah, I didn't expect to lose the guy in Riga. Did not expect to lose the guy in Riga. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we're going to put this aircraft. We're sort of stick him centrally. Because I'm really not sure where I need to... Oh, maybe no. Maybe I should put him way far north? Maybe we should put him in Leningrad? He has 2 German airplanes in the south, though. He's going to have lots of air cover down here. Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and put him in Bryansk. See how this works. Come on, Bryansk. Oh, it's not highlighted. That's why it's not moving. There we go. Alright, so we're going to do that, and we're going to say we're done. then we're going to be moved off to the western. And after you do all that, you're like, okay, ready to move the Russians. Like, nope, it's actually the western's action subphase. So we have to go do their nonsense. And it's not really nonsense. It's just something that they need to do. The Germans do have their surface action. So this is basically a bait on the Germans. I have this convoy with 4 sorties. I have this airplane with 4 sorties. I'm not sure I really want to move them yet. See, I've only got 8 points, right? So I don't have a lot I can do. I have a convoy here that has no sorties on it. This is at 6. I've got a convoy down here that I'm going to have to, keep these guys in supply. So that's 3 of my points right there, no matter what I do. And I have a convoy here that has 5 sorties. So I can't really do anything. And I also have the BEF to rebuild. Okay. So what I'm thinking of doing here is I'm basically going to do nothing. Actually, yeah, I think for this turn I'm going to do nothing because I want to I have to do this convoy here. And I want to get this guy rebuilt, and I want to do, get that airplane down to 2 sorties so that I have a good, solid defense. I'm going to build the BEF, I believe, in England. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to build them on, like, Edinburgh. Because what that does is I can always, like, just run over to Belfast and then transport myself out over a couple turns. But if I'm sitting in Edinburgh, I have a threat now of Sea Zone 2, Sea Zone 3, and getting off an invasion either to Trondheim, if he's in low supply, or into Bergen. If not, and just Bergen move a space in. Yeah, he's going to move the infantry over here, but that means German production points are being spent in Norway, not in the Soviet Union. Very similar to, I will probably try to do some similar shenanigans down here as soon as I get all these things sort of back into a position where they can supply everything. So right now, for the next couple turns, unfortunately, the Russians are on their own. While I try to get my supply situation under control and my units built and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to do anything with West. I'm just going to say pass. We're not going to voluntarily eliminate anything because everything's kind of in places I want them to be, but I just need to get them sorties. So we do a supply all. We only have to do these things. Let's go do the silly one first. The one that we know that he's not going to intercept, but we have to go through the mechanics just because the game requires it. Confirm naval path. No more interceptions. No more interceptions. Force H. Confirm the naval path. And bang, he's in supply. Pop up my little window. Hello, window. Okay. Oh, it was, Constantine, it was terrible. It's sort of a special league that we started up for just the main event. Kamba from Europe did it. Mark did a really interesting intervention in Norway, and I felt threatened enough that I actually left my armored there for almost the entire invasion of France. I had to leave one armored unit there, in my opinion, and I beat up a British unit, and I was chasing a French unit away, and I really should have just pulled the armored out and left a German infantry unit to fend for itself and hope that it could hold. I didn't. And then, being one less armor, France didn't fall until May of 1941. Needless to say, Barbarossa did not really go off. I did launch it in September because I could hit him for like a ton of armies because he had everybody up at the front. So I went ahead and, I mean, the Russians came in, but I didn't do any attacks. I just stayed on my side of the line, and he couldn't really do much. So as long as I didn't force an East invaded, he didn't get his factories and all that kind of stuff starting to crank in and extra units. So he didn't really do much. I had a goodly amount of the German army over there by the time that he could have done anything. Then I went after him in September and basically pushed him, out of Romania and across I think I had him across the Duna and the Dnieper by October or something. We were along the Dnieper, and I had breached the Duna because I killed that many units, and he just couldn't make a coherent line, so he just set up a little bit further back. Then he moved forward, and then by summer of 42 went nowhere because he was winning the strategic warfare because he held Norway. He had taken it away from me while I was busy playing around in France. He took Norway away from me. I never got any kind of conquest in the Middle East going at all. So all I had was my +2 for the French, and I think I'm at like 8 or 9 conquered countries. So it's like +3 to 0 against the Russians because I don't have Norway. So he's been just slowly but surely chopping me away using partisans and ultras and things like that. I was down to 6 lost factories going into the May 43 turn, and we hadn't done strategic warfare yet, but he had just reconquered Denmark as well in April of 43. So he had a fleet sitting in Copenhagen, so he was going to be like +6 to my +2. So he was, going to take one out for the West, and he was +3 or 4 to 0 in the East. So it was like, it was just not going to go well. Germans in the middle of 1943 were going to be like at -8 or 9 lost factors. And that just, without that kind of things. Yeah, I seem to have a lot of epic games that go that way. Spectacular losses, not such spectacular wins, but usually spectacular losses for one side or the other. Yes, we're going to supply them. Keep the game moving along here. So sitting here chatting. And then we get to the Soviets. So here we're going to go into sort of a Soviet, sort of a run mentality. If I run all the way back to the next line here, Orel, Kursk, Kharkov, Bryansk, Smolensk, like that. If I run that far, that means in July he'll be at that arc. It's really hard to decide what to do. Because you feel like you should defend with the Russian army along things like the Dnieper, the Duna. Well, he's already breached the Duna, so I can't defend there. So that's not going to work. Okay. He doesn't have any airplanes within reach. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I could try to do something here, which I think I'm really going to try to do. I know he cannot replenish the Italian Air Force, and it's the one that's got sorties left. He'll have 4 sorties next turn. The Germans will have 3 on this airplane and 3 on each of these airplanes next turn. Okay? I will have 4 on this airplane, and then whatever I decide to do with the first air. And my thought is I'm going to try to do something Since I did so well in not having to take any sorties, I'm going to move up. And at -1, I'm going to go after the Italians at -2. Confirm. Commit. And I got lucky. I got a 4 -1. He got a 3 -2. So I got a DR on him, DR2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run up this Italian. Now I'm at -2. See if I can run him up. Because he can't be replenished. So him sitting there is, he's a sitting duck, and I take him out. Okay. So I'm at 3 sorties. So now I have choices. I could go to 4 sorties and knock this guy down, which I think I'm going to do. So we're going to go ahead and take a chance and hit the German Luft. I mean, we know we're going to get him to 6 sorties. It's a matter of whether I take 2 sorties or not. And I did not, so there we go. All right, so he's at 6. He's at 6. So the airplanes in the north will be at. He won't have any here. He'll have 2 sorties for this. So that could stall the whole northern offensive. I can't really do anything about the southern airplanes, but because of my sortie advantage now, what I can do is I can have this airplane fly back to Veliluki. Veliki Luki. I cannot say these words. Give me a pronunciation guide, guys. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to set ourselves up so that you can't really overrun us, hopefully. Oops, that's... No, I don't want to go there. That's too far. Oh, I just moved back a space. I want to be here. I think. Maybe not. I'm not sure what hex he's going to end up in. I think I need to look at the rest of the line. Not sure which hex I need to put him in. So I'm undoing. It's very slow and painful because of the volume of people that are on the BGA at the moment. That's one of the disadvantages of doing it at this time of the day. So I need to see where I want to defend. My real quandary is here in the south. I'm not sure I want to give him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4. So this tank could attack twice into Kharkov. This armored, if I abandon, goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can attack once into Kursk. 4, 5, 6, 7. So he could possibly get like 3 or 4 attacks on Kursk and Kharkov. Don't think I can run that far that fast, much as I really kind of want to. So we're going to have to try and make a bit of a stand here. So it's not going to be the greatest stand in the world, mind you. It's just going to be sort of a thin red line, so to speak. move him back here. Jesus. Oh, come on. Move him to here. Wait a minute. This is ridiculous. Move him on here. Oh. Could you move any slower? Good grief, look at this. This is getting ridiculous. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this guy can actually get all the way to here. This guy is going to go, here we go again, go into here. Just turn there. Okay, blah, 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 blah. A lot of these guys can't really get that far. 5, 6, 7, 8. So I think I'm going to try and make a bit of a stand early. This could be a mistake. But because I've done so well against the German aircraft, I'm thinking I can do this and get away with it. We're going to see. I'm going to put him... yeah, here. These guys. I'm going to go here. Criminelli. See, if you count the points for his infantry, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can't really attack across the rivers. If he takes the Minsk with this guy and he goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he can get one attack across the rivers with that infantry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this infantry here, this infantry here, and this armored unit are, he's got like 3 units in the north that are actually going to be able to attack my units at all. Depending on where I put them, you might have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a fourth one. So, you know, that's why I'm wondering if I can get away with this. Because they're only going to get, the infantry's going to get like 1 attack piece, and then the armored might get 1, 2, 3, 4. Could get like 2 attacks on some of these guys. So we're basically just trying to contain the Germans, and then we'll retreat in July. We'll retreat back another 4, 5, 6 hexes. Plus we have 6 guys that we're going to be able to build in July. Which means wherever he breaks through, we should be able to put some units in positions to make a coherent line with whatever's still alive. Okay, I think that's all I'm going to do with the Russians. I'm not going to do any spectacular shenanigans, and that's going to be it. Okay, and I haven't been paying attention to this. Okay. So, yeah, it was definitely epic against Mark Dai. Of course, he is the single He's got the highest ELO rating for this game, and he is the developer of the game. And I would say, in my opinion, he probably really is the best player in the world. He can see your minor weakness and exploit it. He always seems to be able to have things where they belong when they belong there, so that when the opportunity arises, he just, you know, there he is. So, yeah, it's a interesting dilemma in some cases to play someone that good. I made a huge mistake in that game. My biggest problem was in 1940, I got an early Italian entry, like, I don't know, February of 40 or something. February or March of 40. Came in a few turns before was going into France. And I just, knee-jerk reaction, ooh, I can get Italy. And I just pulled in Italy, and I didn't look in the med first. And if I looked in the med, he looked at it, and he said, if Italy comes in, what's going to happen to me? He goes, I need to make sure Italy is totally negated. And so what he did is he put the French fleet in Malta. He had Force H in Gabes, and he had the Mediterranean fleet, of course, in Alexandria. So it's like now I bring in the Italians. The Italian Navy was immediately basically sunk. I mean, they were at 6 sorties. Every time they tried to run supply, they failed. So then it was an easy cakewalk for him to walk through North Africa. And then basically I was sitting on like 6 or 5 Italian will points. That's all I had left. Half my willpower just disappeared when he just overran North Africa. So, that was a mistake on my part. Having seen him be prepared for it, what I should have done is just basically said no and just run away from it. I could have placed a pro marker like in Yugoslavia or something like that, which, not as spectacular as bringing in a minor. But if you're going to bring in the minor and it's just going to get slaughtered, you probably shouldn't bring the minor in. And I should have waited until either a conquest of France brought in Italy, or I brought them in after I was well embroiled in France. But he's very, very good, thinking ahead of, always, I would say probably somewhere in the line of 3 to 4 turns ahead of me in thinking. I usually think a couple turns ahead. I think he thinks about a half a year ahead when it comes to this game, trying to weigh the odds of what's going to happen to him and where to be prepared to take advantage if something happens. Okay, so I think I'm done with the Russians. Much as I'd like to try and do something else, I don't have anything else really to do. So we're going to say we're done. We're not going to voluntarily eliminate anything here. We're doing very well as the Russian in this defense, as far as I'm concerned. Supply all. I don't think anybody's... Okay, so now we're into replacements. So the Italians have 11. And like I said, I can't replace my my airplane. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And I'm going to go ahead and start on this fleet, because I want to start getting those fleets back. Now the Germans only have 9. So they're going to do their 3 aircraft because in the east, because why not? Now I could, if you count from here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 to here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to here. So I could conceivably get an airplane here with 3 sorties. The Russians are going to have 3 sorties, 2 sorties, and 4 sorties. I can get an airplane to the front with 4 sorties and 3 sorties, if I so desire. And you're like, how can you do that? You can't fly it away from the west. Well, technically, I can. If I were to do a strategic movement of one of these airplanes, like down here in Romania, I could strategically move it, you know, to a border hex in the west. Like, where would I go? Like, I could just move him, well, for that matter, I could just move him up here to Denmark. Okay? He won't be able to be replenished. He'll have 3 sorties, but he can just sit there in Denmark. I'm not too worried about major incursions from the British right now because of their sortie problems. And then I could fly, this airplane over here and end up in Kiev with like 3 sorties. So it would be -3 sorties to -2. I can get a 4 on a 4. And then this guy, unfortunately, is also going to be a 4. And his is a 3, so I'm not going to really be able to hurt that airplane. So the Russians are doing very well on their aircraft. Oh dear. Okay. So I really don't know. I could get over here someplace in 3 sorties for that airplane. Have 2 4s down here. Yeah, this is a very hard thing to try and figure out what you want to do. I do want to be able to move that infantry unit into Finland. So, wonder if I should just leave the 3rd Luft at 5 sorties. Bring down the convoy so I have extra sortie there to move him against the Russians, because you're going to have a surface action marker. Probably use mine to go after it. Decisions, decisions, decisions. Well, let's try the shuffle and see how it works. See if I leave something wide open. So we're going to replenish the 5th, this one up here. And then we're going to replenish the convoy. And then that other airplane is actually going to end up being strategically moved next turn. So we have a plan for the next turn. Now the British only have 8. And they have 2 points of guide build. So they have to be careful on where they go do their thing. One of the things they need to do is this, in order to keep these guys in supply, that's 3 automatically there. Now they can do 3 others. They could bring down Fighter Command or the 1st RAF. But I think it's more important, first off, to have my map show up. What the heck was that? Yeah. I have these airplanes I need to get down to, but I think I want to bring down this convoy here first, because he's going to be the guy that's going to transport an airplane to the Middle East. So I want him to be in as good a condition as possible. So I'm going to take down that one. And then my last 2 points are going to be spent to rebuild the BEF. Probably in England, like I was talking about over in Edinburgh. The Russians are like, I've got too many points, so I'll just go ahead and replenish all my aircraft. So they actually have 3, 4, 5, 4. They have 9 sorties. When I sail my other guy over here, I'll have 3. This guy getting up to the front would be 4, 5. And this guy getting up to the front will be 6. So we're talking about 9 to 6 sorties in favor of the Soviets, that's a good thing. Early on in the war, being ahead of that is very important. Okay, now I could stick this in the Western Indian Ocean. Germans still have a surprise attack marker. I have one. if I stick him in the Western Indian Ocean, then I can be setting up for some kind of an invasion into the Red Sea. But I think I have the Western Desert Force down there and some garrisons, and if I can't get through to Basra, then I will withdraw and go after Suez. But I'm going to let the Germans try to kick me out first. So I think what I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and build him in Edinburgh. I should have the ability to get some convoys rebuilt over the next 2 or 3 turns. Get a convoy sitting up here so I can threaten to attack into Norway late in the year. Hopefully, I will have gotten enough convoy and sorties on my airplane to be able to get over here to the Middle East. Okay. And if I can do that, then maybe I can, try to make a break for Basra late in 41 as well. That's the plan for the West. For the Germans, it's prevent this from happening in the Middle East. And we need to get to this city line. Kharkov, Kursk, Orel, Bryansk, Smolensk. Preferably at the end of 41, you want to get all the way to Rostov and up through, like a straight line up through the Don, all the way up towards Tula. Because that gives you, like, several hex rows that you can lose ground and still not lose cities. Which in the Russian winter, you tend to lose at least a couple of hex rows. The north is going to be tough because strategically moving the Italians in here so that they can't be replenished next turn. Because I didn't have any sorties on that airplane, I was able to fly down close enough, take out the Italian Air Force, so it's going to basically be useless for July. It'll only have 4 sorties when it's in August. So its purpose is not really going to be served until September at the earliest, which is to help negate Russian air. So, all in all, things are going very well for the Russians as far as I'm concerned. I am sticking my neck out. I kind of changed my mind on a complete run strategy because I did so well in the air. I'm actually at an air sortie advantage at the moment for the July turn. So I'm hoping I can pretty much stop him where I'm at. He might break across the Dnieper, the lower Dnieper. But it should be in such a way that I still would be able to withdraw to this city line in the Donets and the Oka. Ultimately in September, probably ending up along the Don, which is where the Germans want to get to. The idea for the Russians is to end up getting there without losing too many armies. Now, we talked about this. The reason why I didn't do anything about Viborg is because we're going to put our one guy that we can build, we're just going to build him in Viborg to keep the Finns at bay. Did make a mistake. I totally forgot to do this. As a general rule, you want to go ahead and move this Russian guy up to this line so that the Finns are -2 coming across as well. And in this guy, you just usually go ahead and -1 to -2 because it's fair weather, and you just go, roll a dice, roll a dice. Because you can't be A8 because he's -2 and you're -1. You can't be A8. If you get a good split, you force him to retreat. You know, big deal. Can make the Germans nervous. But I just sort of missed it. Okay. And that's their mobilization. That's it. That's the end of turn phase. We go into the next turn, which is July, so we all know what the weather's going to be. Russians get a bunch of armies back. So now we're fair everywhere. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 armies to build. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and go through the declarations of war because no, nobody's going to do that at this point. And now we're at giving up points to our allies, which we will need to discuss at the next session because I've been going 2 hours. I need to stop chatting with you guys and then just sort of babbling along on my own. The Russians are not in too bad a shape. They lost 6 armies. I only expected to lose 5, so I'm 1 behind on my loss count. I mean, I set out 5 out here: Cernate, Kishinev, Brest, Vilnius, and Kaunas. I expected to lose 5 armies. I was hoping for just a simple retreat at Riga, and then that army would just, run away. But the Germans got lucky, got a DD. And then because they attacked from the right hex, which is here, it forced me to retreat into a fair hex and flipped. And the armor still had 2 movement points left, so it went ahead and attacked. And even at +4 to -2, got a big enough split to force a DD, so poof, I went away. And then I decided to not move forward because I saw the possibility with this army here and an army up there. There could have been some shenanigans go on here that could have actually the attacks from the south a couple of times. He could end up getting me flipped, and I wouldn't be able to retreat because he'd be attacking from the adjacent hex of the city. So that's why I stayed in Riga and didn't adventure forth an extra hex. Next turn with my 28, I do have a problem here. The Romanians need to move 2 units. The Finns probably need to move 2 units. And I need to bring a German up there. So we're talking about possibly 3 points I won't have to spend in my 20 out of my 28. So that puts me down to 25. And if I try to save 9 for an airplanes, I end up with only like 14 points worth of guys to move, and I have way more than that to move. 4 armored is 8, and then 6 infantry is not nearly enough. I mean, I've got, 6 infantry, 1, 2, 3, 4. I got at least 5 infantry in the north to move, and probably at least another, 1, 2, 3 in the south. So we're looking at 8 infantry, which is 8 points, and 4 armored, which is 8 points. That's 16. Add 9 to that is 25. So, and it's probably more like 9 or 10 infantry. So I may have to do that shuttle of the aircraft again, this time out of Norway, to like the north or something. We'll have to wait and see. Okay. Anyway, we're going to stop it here. Sort of the extra. This is the exit little bit of the story. I'm Gen608. I do streaming of Hex Encounter board games, specifically Unconditional Surrender right now. You can find me on Board Game Geek at I think it's FHB Dren there. Let me go check. What's my handle in Board Game Geek? It's been so long since I actually had to look. Here's Board Game Geek. Oh no, I'm Dren608. Okay, so I am Dren608 on Board Game Geek. Cool. Can never remember sometimes. So I'm Dren608 on Board Game Geek. You can go there, look in my my collection is open for people to look at. Is what games I own, so you can go look there if there's games that you like. Um, you know, send me a message on in Board Game Geek, Geek Mail me or whatever. Let me know that you're interested in seeing a video, on something else other than what I've done. On my YouTube channel, which if you subscribe, you can go look at my playlists and things that I've posted. I have a series on the U.S. Civil War from Victory Games. It's called The Civil War 1861 through 1865. That's the name of the game, which is being republished by someone, but I can't remember who. I want to say it's Compass Games, but I might be wrong. So that's not official. I just know it's supposed to be being reprinted with some cleaned up rules and things. The other one that I have out there is some Starship Troopers, and then I have a whole lot of Unconditional Surrender videos. I am also starting to stream a role-playing game from the computer side. Back in the 90s, a role-playing game came out called Bard's Tale. And the Bard's Tale has been remastered, and all 3 books have been put together into one bundle, and it's available on Steam. And you will see me do that on Sunday mornings from about 9 to 11. It's kind of the same format as this. I just sort of bounce through it, and I talk to whoever's on with me, and if nobody's on with me, I just sort of talk you through some of the silliness that's going on the screen. And like I said at the top, if you like what you're seeing, hit the thumbs up button. The thumbs up button is really important. One, it gives the algorithms in YouTube some fire to push this up when the search engines, when people are searching for videos for the games that I'm doing. So thumbs up helps a lot. If you like what you're doing, subscribe, hit the notify button, then you'll know when I'm going to schedule another stream or when I'm going to upload a video. You'll get notified that something's up there. And finally, just sort of another appeal about the like button. Those thumbs up tell me that there's enough people out there watching it that like it, that I should keep doing it. I have had some videos pop up that it's like, I don't know, I had one where it had like 50 views and I had 2 thumbs. So I'm like, okay, you looked at it, but you couldn't make your mind if you liked it or not. So is it really something I should have out there, or is it something I should not do anymore? It's very hard for me to decide if something's successful or not if I don't have the thumbs to tell me if people like it or don't like it. And if you don't like it, tell me you don't like it, because if I get enough people saying I don't like what you're doing here, then I'll quit doing it and I'll try to do something else. So it goes both ways. But the thumbs up also tend to motivate me to keep doing this, because if there's a lot of people, if there's a bunch of people watching it and they're all liking it, then I'll keep providing it, because this channel's probably never going to be monetized in my lifetime. It's just not. It's not that popular of a a subject. I mean, there's not that many people out there that play Hex Encounter war games, which is what this channel primarily is right now. That's one of the reasons why I'm trying to go to the role-playing game on the computer side, to see if I can maybe get some people to like what I'm doing over that way, and then expand my horizons, or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, I think that's about it. I did my commercial. We're going to pick this up in July of 41, hopefully next Saturday. So until we meet again, stay safe. Bye-bye.